Good morning, everyone. This is Charlotte, and we are chatting in cars. This is a podcast where I discuss topics that I pulled out of a hat. Well, I say a hat, it's actually a plastic bag. We are driving to work. It is currently about 7:18 in the morning. That's currently about. There is a trigger warning at the start of this podcast because, yes, I swear. And yes, I do talk about sensitive topics that a lot of people don't want to know about. But then again, I would question why you bothered opening this podcast. Questionable. What's your motive? So, 7:19 to be exact. I just looked at the clock. Right. The topic for today is financial competence. In this crisis that is the financial world, currently where we're facing recession after recession, everybody's losing their jobs because of COVID and lockdowns. And now war in Ukraine is fucking with our petrol, which is affecting all our jobs. Strangely, I didn't know it had that much of a knock-on effect. Financial competence is important, of course. What is financial competence? I think it's something to do with, and yes, I am going to talk about me a lot because this is first-person perspective, really, isn't it? You don't have to listen. Anyway, I know I'm just thinking it sounds a bit arrogant. But anyway, let's talk about me some more. Oh my God. Financial competence. What is it? Being able to master your funds and your money so that you can build towards something that is constructive and what you're doing. Idiots. Working towards something that's worthwhile, that will get you somewhere, that will help you live a life or maybe improve your life chances. It's at the start of getting money, I have to say it is hard to understand what you need to do with it. I can remember when I was first working, or I first had a job, or had any source of money, because I came from a poverty background, my concept of money was that it was potentially unobtainable. It was hard to come by because my parents had trouble finding it. And we just learnt to do without, basically. We used what we had, and we learnt to do without. It's a good thing in a way because you learn to cope with loss. You learn to cope with not having the resources you need, so you make them, or you adjust and adapt to the scenario where you have to still perform without having the basic necessities. How's that for learning strategy? Probably why I like Mr. Bean and stuff like that, because he was always, a bit out there when he came to fixing problems in a roundabout way, I do keep talking about, Mr. Bean with the bench scene, if you've ever seen that episode where he just wants to make a sandwich, but he's brought all the ingredients from home and he's got like lettuce in a sock and things like that. If you can find it on YouTube, you laugh your ass off. But it's really creative and I loved it. I don't know if that's Ron Atkinson's thinking or Ben Elton, but they're both brilliant. So I love that sort of thinking outside the box stuff, which is also why I was a fan of MacGyver, I think, because he could take like a hair clip and an elastic bag and, make a bomb or something. I'm going, how the fuck did you do that? It's the wow factor, I think, of creativity. So living in poverty, you do tend to have to make ends meet somehow, whether it's beg, borrow, steal, or just go without. I mean, I lived in hand-me-downs for God knows how long. I think the first time I actually bought new clothes was when I actually moved out, and even then it was from an op shop. So I used to love op shopping. I still love op shopping. Financial competence, therefore, is very, important to me because it shows me that the skills I've learnt whilst in poverty, I can apply to a current situation where I can build a better life for myself. Knowing where I've come from, knowing what I feel like I've missed out on. I don't know. Everybody seems to have this version of, what their childhood should be or what their teen should be, their adulthood should be. I don't know if it's just like a, a complete pipe dream, but I know that's what I'm aiming for. It's like, we say it's some form of normalcy, but it's not, there is no normal. So maybe it's an idealized version of what I want it to be. But I know to get there, I have to be careful with my money because every day we're facing shit that fucks us up financially, whether it's some random bill that's turned up or it's, losing your job or going into recession or house rates getting hiked up and shit like that. We're always facing things that are outside our control. So to be financially competent, we need to look about what we can do to control our money and how we use it. At the moment, I'm budgeting to a certain degree. I don't go extreme, but then again, I'm not really the kind of person that needs a lot of money. Most of my habits or hobbies or things like that aren't very expensive. I wasn't raised to be, used to having it, so I don't tend to function now as a dependent on it. It's not like I'm going to go fucking skiing in the Alps or something like that. I wasn't raised to it. It doesn't interest me now. I'm trying to think what my most expensive hobby is these days. I think it's buying books at this point. I go to a shop called Elizabeth's. It's a chain in Fremantle, and it's really cool because it's all secondhand books and stuff like that. But you can find you can find new ones in there as well. They still stock new ones, but it's all secondhand. You can get stuff for like $1. It's brilliant. They have a shop online as well, so you can order cheap books through there if you want that. But, and having said that, even my habits like that, I still maintain that it's tax deductible as a teacher. So even my habits save money. It's really weird. But then again, that's me with the mindset that I was used to not having money. So when I get money, like when I was in my early 20s, I had a slight bump up of what I was used to. You go a little bit nuts, but even my habits when I was in my 20s was more inclined towards buying food, like food that you wouldn't normally have at home because you just didn't have the funds for it. I know I went berserker with my bloody junk food at one stage, and I started gaining a bit of weight, but it was good for me at the time because I had anorexia, so yeah, it sort of leveled out. Swings and roundabouts, right? So in your 20s, you're not going to be competent when it comes to your money. You're just excited that you've got it finally. Even if it's like, if you're on welfare and stuff, you're just excited to have it. I was doing factory work at the time, actually, so I was getting $100 a day post-tax, which compared to my wage now is, not the same, but not great. But as a 20-year-old, I was stoked. It's like when you're a kid and you find $2 on the floor and you just lose your shit. It's like, oh my God, I got a coin. And it's a gold coin. Ah! So I was chuffed. But you got your $100 a day and you go, all right, so I'm going to do this. Oh, that's a big pothole. I'm going to save up my money or something like that. I mean, I still had to pay rent and stuff. I was on Centrelink at the time, but I had, $100 a day to my name. I'm going to go buy some cake and shit, man. It's like, this is going to be awesome. I don't think I went all out and, went crazy with the spending, so I bought myself jewelry and stuff like that, like I currently have a slight fascination with. It's coming up to one of my birthdays on the 15th September, so I'm definitely going to buy myself something nice soon. But that's a one-off, twice off a year thing. That's not something I habitually do. Oh, he's nice. I'm sorry, checking out boys. Anyway, well, men. That one was definitely a man. Yes, I am driving while I'm podcasting. I'm sorry. I can concentrate, but I'm kind of like a squirrel. So it's going to get annoying. Turn off now if you want to. It will get irritating. But yeah, we're excited about finally getting money, so we use it. And most kids will, some kids will turn it towards drugs and alcohol and trying to have a good time because this is, wastable money seemingly. By the time you get to your mid-20s, you're looking at maybe settling down. You want to start doing something with your money which is a bit more productive. I was 27 when I got married. I was about that time where I bought a house as well. I think this following year, I was about 28 when I got my house, my apartment, with my ex-husband now. And you start getting fed up with just wasting money and you feel like, okay, I've really got to get going with something. So we bought a house, we got married. I renovated it. He didn't, I did. He's not that way inclined, or was not that way inclined. So all my money went into sort of trying to build this, what was a very cheap apartment. It was only, we bought it at the peak, which was stupid, but we were young kids and we wanted a house. I say young kids, I'm 28, I don't know if that's young. But we bought it for $230. It was a 2-bedroom apartment in an okay suburb. It wasn't great. It's still a low SES area, but it was the okay area of that suburb, if that makes sense. So it was not great. There were old fittings. We had to get the whole thing rewired because it was basically a firebomb waiting to happen. The bathroom I'm still not happy with. I don't even own the apartment. I'm sitting there going, I renovated that and I'm still not happy with what I did. But not my problem now. I think back to the trauma. But, you know, it was for a starter home, for a nest, it was amazing. I loved it. And by the time I've renovated it twice now. I renovated it when we first moved in myself by hand, the flooring and everything, and it looked really good. I handed it back to him when we separated and he trashed it on the way out. I finally got it back and I had to renovate it again. So by the time I had it in my hands, me just living there, it was really cozy. I liked it. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't huge. It was just, it felt nice. It felt homely, clean, safe, you know? So I was a bit sad to see it go, which is why I'm currently wanting to get another apartment so I can probably do the same again. That and I'm fed up of renting. It feels like a colossal waste of money. I'm just paying someone else's mortgage at this point. It pisses me off. So, as I was saying, by the time you get to your mid-20s, you're like, okay, how can I establish myself financially? How can I do this? And at that point, I was supporting him as well because he's a personal trainer. I don't know if he still is because he tends to bail on all his responsibilities, but he was at the time, and he didn't exactly earn a lot. So I was carrying him because I'm a teacher. I got the full wage. We were going for it. I'm sitting there going, okay, so we'll build this home. We'll start, you know, doing things we want to do. So we went on holidays. I went on holidays to the UK as well, and things like this that we started working towards it. It isn't until you actually lose everything that you really are going to start valuing what you get. At 33, I lost everything. I lost everything. Everything collapsed. I left that apartment with a shirt on my back. Homeless. I had a job, but it was sporadic because it's relief teaching. And at the time, we didn't have the COVID lockdowns. So there was not, like at the first 2 terms, there's not much need for relief teaching because everybody's sort of settling into their classes. Second 2 terms is where you're going to make your money, or was when you're going to make your money. Right now, I'm working every day. It's great. I'm very fucking grateful for that. Yes. So now I can do more things. But at the time, I was lucky to get work where I could, and I wasn't in the right mindset anyway. So financially, I was just like, what can I do to try and perk myself up a bit, even though I'm completely broken 10 grand in debt? So it came in the form of small things, like $5 pizza nights in my house where I'm watching shit on YouTube. But it's small things that will perk you up and keep you going financially. I knew that I needed to throw all my money onto the credit card. It was 10 grand and it was mounting. I needed to get rid of it that way. So whatever I could scrape together, and whatever I had that was in excess that was not needed in the immediate, although I got rid of some things that I regret getting rid of because I'm like, I could have used that right now. But now I've got to buy a new one, fuck. But things like electrical equipment from the kitchen, like if I bought a fucking waffle iron and shit like that, I was taking up cashies to try and get some funds from it to pay off this fucking credit card. The credit card came from renovating the fucking house because my ex-husband's a prick and he didn't want to pay because it was my plan and I had to do it. It won't sell if we don't renovate it. The guy's an idiot. He just didn't want to pay for it. Anyway, so I did that. I started rationing. I started living out my freezer. I was living in my dead granddad's house. I separated in January. He died in February. My nanny then died in May, who was her... Those two were married at one point, but then they divorced. So I had 2 people die. My business has collapsed. I had 5 online stores where I was selling clothes. Work was sporadic, and I was in debt and homeless. And at this point, I'm sitting there going, this has got to be possibly the lowest point I can get to. And my, ex-husband came out that he was non-monogamous and didn't believe in marriage. So, it could have been seen as the lowest point of my life. It's like, holy shit, how long have you not been monogamous? And oh my God, are you cheating on me? And oh, you're leaving me for someone else? And oh God, the shit that went through my fucking head. I could have killed him. But the priority at that point was to get me out of debt so I could get somewhere else. I'll get to a safe zone. So yes, I was in survival mode financially, of course. I was rationing, I was doing everything I could to clear this debt, just to get my shit together and get the fuck somewhere else. So the skills I learned in that time period, priceless as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely priceless. Whatever the divine sent me to get me through that point, I'm fucking eternally grateful. And even then, I'm still using those skills now. I'm not in debt. I have a credit card, I don't use it. It's backup. But I'm trying to get out of, having no savings and things like that, because early 20s, you're sort of living hand to mouth anyway. You're like, I don't need to save. I'm young, I've got plenty of time to work, but I'm now 37. I want the house that I promised to myself. I want the home. I want the puppy. I want the life that I said I was going to do from the start, but unfortunately cocked up because I relied on the wrong people. That's my priority. So by using my money appropriately, competently, I'm hoping to achieve that. Everybody else has got their own goals. I love that. If you want to build your family, if you want to have kids and you want to give them a safe zone, or maybe you want to give them the future that you didn't have, absolutely. But you're going to need to be financially competent to do it. You can't waste money, obviously, can you? It's a tool to get somewhere, as far as I see. I see people hoarding it, and I'm sitting there going, well, you're never going to use all that. So why do you need all that? So I'm not going crazy with the materialism and the sort of greed side of things. I don't need an excessive amount of money. I need enough to get me to the point where I need to get to feel better about myself at this point. And yes, this is all about me. I'm sorry if this comes off as very narcissistic. All my podcast is about me, but I'm just trying to relate to the shit I've gone through, or I've seen, or I've understood. This is a first person kind of podcast. I would love to interview people. I would love to, and hear their stories, of course. But, I don't really talk to anyone else. So, yeah, you're going to hear a lot of shit about me. Plus, I'm in a car driving to work, so I don't exactly have anyone in my car. I would like to carpool. I feel it is more responsible fuel-wise. But yeah, maybe someday in the future we can talk to some other people. But right now, these are just my internalized moronic thoughts. So, fuck, went off on a tangent. Anyway, financial competence. Right. How can you be financially competent? I loved when we were kids that the Commonwealth Bank came around and taught us how to save. We were given little Dolomite accounts. I don't know if anyone in Australia remembers the Dolomites. They're little cartoon characters, they're aliens from outer space, and they want to help you save. And I fucking loved it, because it was my first interlude into money. We never had money, so this resource, when we got what few coins we did, if maybe we found some in the street, we'd put it in our little yellow bank book, little pocket plasticky thing. Anyone in Australia remember that? You all did it, come on. We all had it, because it went through the schools, and the schools were trying to teach us how to use money appropriately. So we had our own little bank books, and we put our deposit in and we'd take it to the bank, or you could do it these days through the school. I don't know if they still do it, actually. But you get, whatever I found, I would put in my little plasticky sleevey thing. And I was excited because I had to fill out the check, and it was like, oh, I'm writing checks because I got millions of dollars. And it's like, no, you're just depositing a $1 coin or something like that. I am a millionaire. But I love that. That was the novelty of it for me as a kid, because you never had money. So when you did get money, you're like, oh, I'm going to put it in the bank. I'm going to have something. I think by the time I was 12, I had like $3 or something like that. It was something ridiculous. Now as a working adult, it's like, yeah, $3. Although I still get excited about finding $2 coins. I do. I found one in the playground the other day. I kept it. Like, snooze you lose, motherfucker. But it's the novelty of it. It's such a menial amount. I make 400 odd bucks a day, about $4.50 before tax, but I still get excited about finding a $2 coin in the playground. I'm like, yes, nostalgia. Brilliant. Yeah, I found $20 at the beach one time. I was losing it. Yes. It was just floating in the water. I'm going, if someone has lost their coffee money, I'm keeping it. Gifts from the divine, presents for me, yeah, you. And I don't know if it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, but if I get a kid come up to me who's found like a coin in the playground, if they find it, I'm saying, you can keep that, darling, that's a gift. It's like, I had one yesterday actually, she found a 10-cent coin or something like that, but it was like in a sand pit or something like that. And she wanted to do the right thing by handing it up to the office. I'm like, yeah, fair play. If you want to do that, you can do that. I mean, they get it at the end of the term. They write it on a piece of paper, they stick the tape to the piece of paper, and they just collect the coins. And at the end of the term or the end of the year or something, like you get back all this money that you found. No one ever claims it. No one ever goes up to the office and says, I lost my 10-cent coin. But I said, look, I don't think anyone's going to claim that, dude. You can just keep it. 10-cent coin. But I love that she tried to do the right thing, what she thought was the right thing. But I'm like, if you get free shit like that, it's a gift from the divine, dude. Take it. No one's name's on it. It wasn't around anyone. No one can look down and say, oh, that's mine. It was in the sand pit. Keep it. It's free. And I hope it makes your day, really. Because you just got something nice. It was a present. Keep it, man. Yeah, I love my kids, though. They're so cute when they try and do the right thing. It's like, this has no weight, really. This kind gesture. It doesn't really benefit anything, but it eases their conscience, and they think it's the right thing to do. So, okay, go for it if you want to. I say keep it, but, you know. Where am I going with this? I don't know. All right, financial competence. I keep going off my tangent. I love my kids, but I keep talking. I can't do that right now. All right. So how can you do it? You can do budgeting, of course. Everyone's got a strict budget. My budget for the fortnight is $1,500. Straight out my pay, that's $1,500 for the budget. $940 of that is rent. So I've got a fair whack left after for like bills, food, petrol, stuff like that. And most times I have some rollover. But I'm also doing things where I buy a lot of shit in bulk. So sometimes I have to take it out of savings, but knowing that that resource will be there long term rather than the short term buying it in the immediate. That's a skill I picked up when I was having to live out my chest freezer. I buy shit in bulk because it's cheaper and immediate, but it will spread out longer. And it's worked for me, I think. As long as you know it's something you're definitely going to use and you're not going to, like, I don't buy any frivolous stuff. I know I'm going to use my assets. I'm going to either store it. It has to be storable. Things like fresh fruit and stuff like that go off so easily. Eggs go off so easily, so I buy them weekly. I don't bother buying masses of them. I go through 3 cartons of eggs a week, but that's because I'm lacto-vegetarian. Lacto-ovo-vegetarian. And I just don't eat meat. And I do have whey powder, but I don't really... But meat would be the most expensive thing you have to buy if you choose to eat it. I remember even when I was eating meat, it was expensive. And I'm not saying you have to go vegetarian or vegan or something like that. I think vegans are pretty intense, to be honest. I've tried living vegan. It does my head in. So I go like halfway point. I go veggie. It's like, I need my dairy. I need my chocolate. It's like, yes, but you're contributing to the killing of the cow culture. It's like, no, actually, I'm just buying a product. If it occurred naturally, the eggs and the milk would be free without any pain or anything like that. You just borrow it from the animals. No one has to die to get this product. It's only the methods, as far as I can see, where people are being, assholes currently that creates the problem. So I'm not looking at from I think that's on them. If they're choosing to treat the animals that way, that's their problem. I don't support animal cruelty, of course. I like animals more than I like people. But at the same time, looking as a resource that's in the immediate, that's in the 3D, it shouldn't be derived from inflicting pain. I do still buy free-range eggs and stuff like that, so I want fair treatment of the animals, but I don't go all out and say you shouldn't be eating them at all. Because I know I need the protein to exist, to survive. And someone's going to argue, you can get protein from mushrooms. I'm going, yes, I do. That's why I eat the corn stuff. But, yeah. Anyway, there's another tangent. So at the same time, I was buying all these things on sale, in bulk, separating them, meal prepping, freezing. I know the current problem right now is we can't get the fuel to keep freezers running and shit like that. So what I'm suggesting is you get dried and canned goods instead, if you want to. Some things will last. You might get a bit fed up, but this is the situation to hand at this point. It's not permanent, it's temporary, and we have to adjust to keep going. I know I used to live on a lot on rice and pasta, that's dried stuff. flour, whatever I could make myself. Which is probably why we went into lockdown, all the flour and pasta and shit disappeared off the shelves. People are stockpiling it. Which is a bit of an asshole move, but fair play, because it makes sense. It will store. I bet it was the boomers. I bet it was, because they got secrets. They know how to do this. They just don't want to share the secrets. Well, the millennials are like, my avocados. No. I love avocados, but I don't let them rule my financial plans. Come on. I am a millennial, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know. There's good and bad bits. There's good and bad bits about being a boomer. Intergenerational conflicts is something we can discuss in another podcast. And that's another day. You should be setting financial goals. Absolutely. Don't just float and hope shit will come together. Be direct. Have a directive. Set financial goals. At the moment, I'm working towards my apartment because I'm fucking fed up of paying rent. I've got the deposit already as of the next paycheck. I've got the bare minimum deposit, I know. So anything after that is going to be a buffer for, any taxes they throw on top or things I have to get renovated in the apartment or anything like that. I always like to overestimate when it comes to money. I would rather overestimate than underestimate and be caught short. So the savings I've made are overdone. The budget I have fortnightly is overdone. I know there's going to be excess after that. You've got to take a real honest look at what you're spending on. If you can avoid it, anything like, oh my God, this drives me nuts. I watch a lot of stuff about poverty on YouTube, a lot of documentaries, particularly about kids living in poverty, because I'm like, these are my people. I have to understand them. I want to understand them. I will watch them. I've lived it, but I also want to watch it and see what the other ideas are, what the other perspectives are. I see these people in poverty. Yes. We can't feed our kids. Yes. We can't put a roof over our head. Right. Common factors I've gone through. Okay. Why are you smoking and drinking? It's like, what? Why are you smoking and drinking? That's expensive. That's a waste of money and it's killing you. Why do they do it? It's like, I know they've got mental issues, most likely. But in terms of survival, isn't that a waste? We can't feed our kids. We can't put a roof over their heads. But they're sitting there with a cigarette in their hand. The fuck is wrong with you? What are your priorities? So when you got your final competence in your mind, what you deem as financial competence, to me it's eliminating problems. So if I started smoking and drinking like my ex-boyfriend did, he smokes, drinks, lived on takeaways, all expensive habits, all don't make sense because they don't get you anywhere. It's money into a void, as far as I can see. And then he would complain or feel like shit because he didn't have any money. I'm sitting going, well, I know where it's gone. I'm sitting there looking at it because he was paying for cigarettes. Well, he was getting pouches of tobacco because it was apparently cheaper. But he was getting, and that cost like $90 or something like that. $90 a hit, and he was going through a pouch a week at least. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's not helpful. That's $90, and you don't earn that much anyway because you're doing casual work. He did 2 days a week, a couple of hours. That's it. So $90 just on cigarettes, and then he'd go down to the pisser, and beers over here are about $10 a pint. I don't know what they're like in the UK and stuff like that. I remember going out for the piss. It was about maybe £5, maybe £3, something like that. I know it's cheaper, and you go into a Tesco, you can get really cheap alcohol. And it's on the shelf like it's just nothing, like it's the candy aisle. You got the candy aisle, you got the baked goods aisle, you got the piss aisle. And I'm going, why do we have a drinking problem in the UK? I don't know. I do know, because it's too readily accessible. It's not even a separate area, and it's so cheap. It's crazy. Sometimes it's cheaper than the food. You worry. I'm sitting there going, my people are alcoholics, and they wonder why. And the sugar over there is crazy too. You buy chocolates and stuff, you can get so much, and the baked goods. So they're too cheap, and it's too easy to get fat and just destroy your body. But anyway, different podcast. But I laid it out one time. I mapped out on the calendar how many days we'd gone out on the piss and factored in what he was spending on cigarettes, And when he had his takeaways and averaged out roughly about what he would cost per takeaway, I didn't even factor in things like his bills and rent and stuff like that. And I looked at his paycheck and said, look, half your pay's gone on just shit habits. So I don't know how you're expecting to survive financially and be deemed confident by picking up dumb shit like this. It just shows me that you don't know what you're doing. And of course he was sitting there expecting me to bail him out because I was buying the groceries at $200 a hit. And I was doing the laundry, and the laundry costs $3 a load, and we do 4 loads, and then we had the dryer costs and things like that, because we had a little pay-as-you-go laundromat downstairs. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this and I'm going, you're not holding your own. I'm being expected to hold your weight, and I fucked him off in the end. I'm going, I'm not paying for you. And there were other things as well. He was a complete fuckboy, but I'm like, I'm not paying for you to be an asshole. And now he's facing the problem that, the result of his choices. He chose a shit job. He chose not to invest that heavily into his education. So he does have a bachelor's degree, but he doesn't use it. He doesn't use it. He calls it a work-life balance, which ultimately means that I'm paying his bills. He's like, I just wanted a better life-work balance. I'm like, you are full of shit. You want someone else to bail you out financially. And that just bugged the shit out of me. I'm going, you don't want to work. You want the nice things. And he'd complain when I get him the nice things because they weren't the exact nice things that he wanted. Oh, God, I could have smacked him for that. I really could have. I brought, one example, and I know I'm bitching about this. He's really done my head in. I bought him maple syrup. It was Canadian maple syrup, the expensive kind, yes. The fancy kind, the real kind. And he complained because it wasn't organic or some shit like that. And I'm going, fuck off. Bearing in mind, when I buy maple syrup for me, it's like the $3 Greens version. It costs next to nothing and it just tastes nice. And I'm like, this is nice. I like this. This is on my pancakes. I'm having it. He's like, it's not organic. It's not real Canadian maple syrup. It's like, well, go and fucking buy some then, asshole. It's like, oh my God, he's so ungrateful. And it gives me the shits. Because it's like, he claims to have come from a similar background to me. He's like, oh, I was poor all my life. And then it's like, as soon as, someone tries to do something nice for him, it's like, it's not good enough. It's like, fuck off. You want it, you go buy it, as far as I'm concerned at this point. I'm like, so anyway, he's facing that shit. Because he is financially incompetent. He's constantly expecting that handout. And I wasn't raised to expect a handout. My parents drilled it into me. If you want some, you go and fucking get it yourself. And that was from a young age. With regards to everything. It wasn't just money. It was like, you want it, go do it yourself. It's self-reliance, particularly with relation to, getting jobs done or getting money or anything like that. You want it, you have to go get it. I'm not going to help you. And that was emphasized. Because they wanted, I don't know if in a kind of horrible way or in a nice way, they wanted us to be independent. My mum particularly wanted us to be independent because she didn't want us relying on some asshole like my dad, who was financially incompetent. Hence the reason she had to retrain to become a teacher herself and, pay for all of us, essentially, growing up. Even my dad, who still lived with us and leached off us, or off her, I should say. He's got Peter Pan syndrome, in and out of work. Anyway. Long story, different podcasts. Right, so I've just pulled up to the school I need to work at. I'm going to go get my pay because I rely on me. Beyonce was right about the independent woman thing. Don't rely on other people. No one should be relying on anyone that desperately if you can. As far as you rely on someone financially, you're in their pocket and you're subject to their whims and stuff like that. It's just, to me, it's another control mechanism. I'd rather pay my way than rely on someone else, even if they mean to do it in a kind gesture kind of way. Like, I'd rather just do it myself. At least then I can feel my weight and I know what I've done. I can live with the consequences of not pulling my weight. That is, again, part of adulting. You have to, you fucked up. This is the result. Welcome to consequence. If you don't work, that's the result. I mean, I feel sorry for everyone right now who's lost their job because of COVID and lockdowns and stuff like that. And Ukrainian wars creating problems with transport, and everybody's losing their businesses as well and things like that. That's not your fault. That is absolutely out of your control and not your fault. But when there are people who actively can't be asked. Cannot be asked because they expect someone to do it for them. That gives me the shits. There are a lot of people. Gold diggers. They're gold diggers, aren't they? Someone else to do it for me. Why should I do anything? Why should I not work, you know? Why should I work, I should say. Right, anyway, what to take away from this? You need to, from a very early age, as soon as possible, become financially competent. Don't rely on anyone. Look around, research, look at what works, look at what doesn't work. Lose your habits that cost money. Consider your money as an asset and a tool to create a better life if you can. It's not, some of it is just play stuff, but it shouldn't be seen that way. I take money very seriously, and I come across as materialistic, but I know what it is to not have it. I would rather have it and be deemed materialistic. Not that I've got a lot of it, but I am in pursuit of it currently because I know it will help me build the goals to what I want to get to. I don't have it to lord over people. I don't give a fuck about other people in that way. I'm not here for approval. Money is a tool for me to create. That's all I see it as. It's not showing off. It's not, control. It's not power. It is, for me, a means to get out of the shithole that I was raised in. Hence the reason I'm covered in jewellery. So, that's totally why. That's me trying to build my self-esteem up. That's being raised with shit self-esteem, then being married to someone who treated you like shit, and then finally getting out of that and saying, right, fuck you. I'm celebrating me at this point because I survived. And not only did I survive, I built, and I created, and I developed, and I healed, and I did all this extra stuff, and I'm celebrating what I've come through. And for some degree, even though it sounds, self-centered and a bit ego-driven, you have to, because otherwise you're constantly under someone's fucking thumb, and they will treat you like shit to keep you there, because it means they can exploit you. So, in some way, yes, we do need to celebrate our achievements. And my parents never did, so I will now. But don't let it go to your head too much. Don't, get so far wedged up your own ass that you're not even willing to, take advice from someone or listen to someone else's viewpoint or something like that. Even when it comes to money, I should say. It's like, that's just me in general. I'm like, I feel this way in general, don't get up your own ass. But with particular respect to financial competence, it's like, always look for other ways of doing things. I always like hearing about other people's success stories and how they're building their life and things like that. I want to know. I was like, tell me your secrets. I'm very nosy in that way. I hope you have a great day. I know it's Thursday. It is not my payday, but usually I get paid on Thursday. So it's my halfway point from my pay cycle, so I'm excited. We've got one more work day. I hope you guys are having a fun week so far, or at least a chill week. Like no stress, or as little stress as possible given our respective lifestyle choices. 2 more days and then we can have a fun day or a day off, hopefully, if you're not having to work on a Saturday. Good luck finding money. I hope you are using every skill you've ever developed to save money at this point, because I know things are getting really fucking rough, and I'm so sorry if you have to go through any of that, losing your business, stuff like that. I have lost my businesses. It is bullshit. It takes a fucking big blow to your ego, to your self-esteem and everything, because you feel like you're failing. And I know it because I've been there. But you can rebuild. It will take time. This is temporary. All this is temporary. This is just us as a world, as a planet, going through some fucked up shit. But it goes through cycles, and we will rebuild, obviously. Because sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. Take it easy, and I'll chat to you tomorrow morning, okay?